You made a decision once, not today, not recently, but somewhere along the way you decided that uncertainty is dangerous, that not knowing what's going to happen is a real threat, that when the future feels blurry, it needs to be controlled, calculated, solved before it even exists. You don't remember making that decision. You were probably 6, maybe 8, maybe 10, and ever since then, your nervous system has been following that order. Every single day, without missing once. You wake up in the morning and it's already there, before coffee, before your phone, before your eyes are even fully open. A slight pressure in your chest, a mental list forming on its own. I need to deal with that. I don't know how this is going to end. What if it goes wrong? You didn't choose those thoughts, they just show up, and because you were trained to do this, you get to work. You start thinking, planning, running scenarios, trying to get ahead of something that hasn't even happened. You honestly believe that if you think hard enough, long enough, you'll find the answer that finally makes the anxiety stop. But the answer never comes, because the point was never to solve the problem. The point was that a part of you learned a long time ago that staying on alert is what keeps you safe. And that part doesn't know you're not a kid anymore. Stay with me for a minute. What I'm going to show you isn't a list of breathing techniques. It's not a 3-minute mindfulness reset. I want to show you the pattern, the mechanism, the invisible structure that takes anything uncertain in your life. An unanswered email, a weird conversation that never really got resolved, a plan that doesn't have shape yet, and turns it into real anxiety. Physical, heavy, taking up space in your body, draining energy you don't have to spare. This pattern has a name, and when something has a name, it starts to lose power, not all at once, not overnight, but it starts because you stop confusing the pattern with reality. You stop assuming your anxiety is just a logical response to the world, and you begin to see it for what it is. A learned response, one that made sense at some point, one that protected you, and one that, with time and practice, you can begin to rewrite. 30 days, that's what this is about. I'm not promising that in 30 days you'll become a different person, but I am promising that in 30 days you'll know this pattern so well it won't catch you off guard anymore. And that alone changes things. I'm going to tell you a story. I'll show you how the pattern plays out in real life. I'll give it a name, an origin, and a real training plan, week by week, so you can start today. But first, I need you to slow down. If you're walking, take one earbud out. If you've got 10 tabs open, close one, because what I'm about to say next is going to need a little of your real attention. I know you probably clicked on this with your mind already racing. Most people who open a video about anxiety are anxious in that exact moment. It's almost funny if it weren't so real. Something in your life feels unresolved, heavy, open-ended, so you open YouTube. You see a title that feels like it's speaking directly to you, and you press play. But even now, while you're listening, part of your mind is still over there, on that problem, that conversation, that thing that hasn't settled, still trying to fix it. So I'm going to ask you for something small, not a meditation, not an exercise, just this. For the next few minutes, give yourself permission to not solve anything. The problem will still be there when this video ends. The unanswered question will still be unanswered. You can go back to it. But right now, you're in a different space. You're learning something that will change how you relate to all of it. So it makes sense to actually be here. Adults who live with chronic anxiety almost always share one belief. They believe that thinking more will fix it. That if they haven't found the answer yet, it's because they haven't thought hard enough. So they think more, and the anxiety grows. Because looping on an uncertainty doesn't resolve it. It just keeps your nervous system switched on. It's like pressing the gas pedal while the car is in neutral. A lot of noise, a lot of fuel burning. You don't go anywhere. What you're going to learn here is how to shift out of neutral, how to recognize when you're in the loop, and how, slowly, to build a different relationship with not knowing. which might be the most important skill a human being can have in the century we're living in. I know you probably got here with your mind already moving fast. Most people who click on a video about anxiety are anxious in that exact moment. It's almost ironic. If it weren't so real, something in your life feels unfinished, unsettled. So you open YouTube. You find a title that feels like it's speaking straight to you. You press play. But even now, while you're listening, part of your mind is still over there, on that problem, that open situation, trying to find the answer that will finally make the weight lift. And there's more. You probably didn't open just this video. There are other tabs, notifications waiting, a text you meant to respond to and haven't. An anxious brain doesn't do one thing at a time. It keeps loose threads everywhere, pulling in different directions, that constant feeling of being in the middle of something, never fully finishing, never fully landing. So I'm going to ask you for something small, not meditation, not a technique, just this. For a few minutes, give yourself permission to not solve anything. The problem will still exist when this ends. The unanswered situation will still be there. You can go back to it. But right now, for this stretch of time, you're in a different space. You're learning something that will change how you deal with all of it. So it makes sense to actually be here. I know that's hard. I'm not asking because it's easy. I'm asking because it's exactly what the watcher resists. The part of you that believes constant vigilance equals safety. For that part, slowing down feels irresponsible, like you're dropping the ball. But slowing down right now isn't neglect, it's strategy. You learn better when you're not in emergency mode. Adults who live with chronic anxiety almost always share one belief. If I think about it enough, I'll fix it. If I haven't found the answer yet, it's because I haven't thought hard enough. So they think more. And the anxiety grows because looping on uncertainty doesn't resolve it. It just keeps your nervous system on alert. It's like pressing the gas pedal while the car is in neutral. Noise, fuel burning, no movement. There's a huge difference between thinking to solve and thinking to feel safe. The first one has direction. The second one just goes in circles. And most people who struggle with uncertainty, anxiety, spend hours, days, sometimes years, inside circular thinking that feels productive because it's intense. But underneath it, all it's doing is signaling to the nervous system, there's danger here, keep watching. The thinking becomes the trap. What you're going to learn here is how to shift out of neutral, how to notice when you're in the loop, and how, slowly, to build a different relationship with not knowing. Because the world isn't going to become more certain. There won't be fewer variables. The only thing that can really change is your relationship with uncertainty. And that shift starts here, right now, in the space you created by staying until this point. What you just saw in David's story isn't exaggerated. Maybe the details look different in your life. Maybe you don't live alone. Maybe you don't work in tech. Maybe you don't take the subway. But the pattern is the same. And I want you to notice 3 specific signs that tell you when it's active. Not abstract, not theoretical, concrete, physical, measurable. The first sign is what I call compulsive anticipation. This isn't planning. Planning has a beginning, middle, and end. You think about the problem. You land on a decision or a next step, and you move on. Compulsive anticipation has no ending. You think about the problem, you come up with a possible answer, but that answer creates another question, which creates another scenario, which creates another worry. It's a loop. And the stopping point isn't, I found a good solution. The stopping point is exhaustion. You stop thinking because you can't keep going, not because you resolved anything. Do you recognize that? Think about something in your life right now that's still open. Work, a relationship, money, health. How many times have you thought about it in the last 7 days? How many of those thoughts led to a conclusion that actually stuck for more than a few hours? If the answer is, I've thought about it a lot and nothing ever really settles, you're in the pattern. The second sign is intolerance of informational silence. This one's quieter, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's the need to check. Email, texts, social media, the news. Not because you're expecting something specific, but because the possibility that something might be there and you don't know feels unbearable. Not knowing, even about something trivial, triggers the alarm system, so you check. And even when there's nothing there, the relief doesn't last, because the next window of uncertainty is already forming. There's a very specific physical feeling that comes with this. A mental itch, a low-grade restlessness that won't let you stay inside a pleasant moment for long. You try to watch a movie, and your mind drifts somewhere else. You try to have a calm conversation, and part of you is processing something unfinished. You lie down to sleep, and the system won't power down. Does that feel familiar? The third sign is the hardest one to admit. Relief that doesn't last. You fix the thing that was bothering you. You send the email. You make the decision. You finish the project. There's a moment of relief, real relief, but it's brief. Maybe a few hours, maybe a few days. And then the pressure comes back. Different topic, different item, different uncertainty. And if you're honest with yourself, there's never a state of everything is handled. There's only the list is shorter for now. This isn't because your life is objectively harder than everyone else's. It's because the system you're using to feel safe requires constant input. It isn't satisfied by solutions. It feeds on the search for solutions. That's a huge difference. And understanding that difference is the first step out of the loop. These three signs together, compulsive anticipation, intolerance of informational silence, and relief that doesn't last. That's the alarm. That's your nervous system running a program that was written a long time ago for a situation that doesn't exist anymore. The program is still running, but the original danger has been gone for years. Now it's time to give this a name, because the shadow has a name. And when something has a name, it starts to lose power. The pattern we've been describing, the constant vigilance, the need to control what hasn't happened yet, the inability to rest inside not knowing, has roots in what Carl Jung called the shadow. For Jung, the shadow wasn't evil. It was whatever had to be pushed out of awareness because at some point it felt too dangerous to exist in the open. The shadow isn't the villain. It's what got hidden in order to survive. In the case of anxiety around uncertainty, the specific shadow we're looking at is what I call the watcher. The part of you that learned very early on that relaxing was risky, that letting your guard down was dangerous, that if you weren't paying attention, something bad would happen, and it would be your fault for not seeing it coming. Where does that learning come from? It comes from a scene, maybe several scenes, but there's usually one that stands out. Let me show you how it often looks. David was 8 years old. It was a Friday afternoon. He was in his room, drawing, no worries in the world, colored pencils, a dinosaur he was proud of. That quiet satisfaction a kid feels when they're lost in their own little moment. Downstairs, voices. His dad's voice, louder than usual. His mom's voice, tight, controlled. The kind of control that's actually scarier than yelling. David stopped drawing. He listened. He didn't understand the words, but he understood the tone. Something was wrong. He walked halfway down the stairs, stopped in the hallway. The argument was about money. He figured that out years later, as an adult, when he rebuilt the memory. At the time, all he knew was that the air felt heavy. The people who were supposed to be his anchor felt unsteady. He went back to his room, picked up the pencil, but he couldn't draw anymore. He lay on his bed, stared at the ceiling. And right there, at 8 years old, his nervous system made a decision no one asked for and no one approved. I need to pay attention. I can't relax. If something is wrong out there, I need to know, because if I know, maybe I can do something, or at least I won't be caught off guard. Does that decision make sense? At 8 years old, in a house where the adults were sometimes unstable, in a world where you didn't yet have the tools to process uncertainty, it makes perfect sense. The Watcher was born to protect you, not to ruin you. It showed up because in that specific moment being on alert felt safer than being at peace. The problem is, the watcher doesn't know you're 34 now. It doesn't know you have your own bank account, that you can leave a bad situation, that you have resources you didn't have at 8. The watcher is still operating with a 1998 map, and anyone using a 1998 map in 2026 is going to get lost. Repetition is what keeps the watcher alive. Every time you compulsively check your email, you confirm that the alert is necessary. Every time you spend a night looping in your head, you reinforce the belief that more thinking equals safety. Every time you avoid something uncertain, putting off the hard conversation, revising the project a 5th time before sending it, declining the invitation because you don't know how it'll go, you're telling your system that uncertainty really is a threat, and the watcher grows, not out of cruelty, out of confirmation. Every avoidance is proof, every check is reinforcement, the pattern hardens, and what began as protection slowly becomes a prison. In Jungian psychology, there are archetypes, universal patterns of behavior that show up across cultures, stories, and lives. The watcher we've been talking about has one of those patterns behind it. Carl Jung knew it well. I call it the waiting adult. Don't confuse this with the adult who plans. The adult who plans acts in the present to build a future. The waiting adult lives in an imagined future and tries to control the present from there. It's the person sitting at a great dinner with people they love, but mentally they're already in tomorrow. On vacation, already thinking about the return flight. In the middle of a beautiful moment, they feel a flicker of anxiety because this won't last. They can't fully land in the present because the present never feels secure. It only feels safe once it's resolved, and the present is never resolved. Scene 1, Mariana, 31 years old, at her best friend's birthday party. The party is good. Music she likes, people she knows, food she would have chosen herself. She's standing off to the side with her phone, not texting anyone important. She's checking the weather for tomorrow. She has an outdoor plan. It might rain. Probably won't. The forecast says 20%. She checks 3 times. Same result. Closes the app, opens it again, closes it, puts the phone away. 2 minutes of being present. Then she reaches for it again. The party, the one she could be fully living, is happening 3 feet away. She's not in it. Scene 2, Raphael, 42, finally on vacation. First one in 2 years, first day at the beach. Sun, water, his whole family there. He's sitting on the sand, looking at the ocean. For 6 minutes, he's still. Then he grabs his phone, just to make sure nothing urgent came in. There's an email, not urgent, but it mentions a project that starts after he gets back. He spends 45 minutes answering emails on the beach while his kids are in the water without their dad. This isn't a lack of love. It's not even work addiction in the usual sense. It's the watcher saying, if you relax now, you'll pay for it later. And Raphael, like David, like Mariana, listens, not as a conscious choice, but as a habit so deep it feels like instinct. The waiting adult is protection that's slowly turned into sabotage, and the way out isn't to destroy the archetype, it's to grow it up, to teach the watcher that it's allowed to rest, that you can survive uncertainty, that the present, even unfinished, even with open questions, is still a place you can live. Look at this carefully. I need to show you the trap, because this is the part that keeps people reading about anxiety. Understanding everything and changing nothing. Here's the trap. Understanding the pattern is not the same thing as retraining your nervous system. Those are 2 completely different processes. Most people who struggle with uncertainty anxiety are smart, reflective, self-aware. David can explain in impressive detail why he checks his email compulsively. He knows it's anxiety. He knows it traces back to childhood. He's read the books. And the next morning, he checks again. Knowing doesn't change the habit. Practice changes the habit. And in this context, practice means something very specific, exposing yourself to not knowing in small, repeated doses without performing the relief behavior. That sounds simple. It's not. Because the relief behavior, checking, solving, planning, seeking reassurance, actually works in the short term. It lowers anxiety. That's the problem. Every time you check, you feel a little better. And every time you feel a little better, your system learns, we need this. So you check more. It's a classic reinforcement loop, and getting out of it requires doing the one thing that feels completely wrong, feeling the anxiety without fixing it. The second part of the trap is more subtle. It's the search for certainty about the cure. It's the person who asks, but will this actually work before they even begin? Who needs a guarantee before they commit? Who reads about the method, spots potential flaws, imagines scenarios where it fails, and then uses that as a reason not to start. That's not healthy skepticism. That's the watcher in its most sophisticated form. Now it's protecting you from the uncertainty of trying, because trying and failing would create more uncertainty to tolerate, so it keeps you in research mode, analysis mode, preparation mode, anywhere but action. The way out of the trap is to begin without guarantees, to do the practice without knowing if it will work, to let the watcher complain, to feel the discomfort, and to act anyway. Here's the training. 4 weeks, each week has a focus, specific practices, and a logic that builds on itself. You don't need to do this perfectly. You need to do it consistently. 70% consistency for 30 days beats 100% intensity for 3 every time. Week 1, mapping. Get to know your watcher. This week isn't about changing anything, it's about seeing. You can't retrain what you can't recognize. Practice 1, trigger journal, 5 minutes at night. Before bed, write down 3 moments from your day when anxiety activated. They don't have to be dramatic. Maybe it was when you opened your email for no clear reason, when you started thinking about a problem that doesn't need solving today, when you couldn't stay present in a conversation. For each moment, write what happened right before it, what you felt in your body, tight chest, racing heart, tense shoulders, and what you did, checked, looped, avoided. Don't analyze, just observe and record. Analysis comes later. Practice 2, the 90-second pause, 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, night. Stop for 90 seconds, no special breathing, no meditation posture, just stop, feet on the floor, look around, and ask yourself, what is happening right now? Not what might happen, not what should be happening, right now. If the answer is, I'm sitting in a chair, the room is quiet, there's no immediate threat, that's important data. The watcher acts like there's danger all the time. You're gently confronting it with present evidence. Practice 3, identify the relief behavior. Choose one relief behavior you'll observe this week without trying to stop it. Checking your phone, refreshing email after hours, over-revising something, asking for reassurance before small decisions. You're not quitting it, you're noticing it and writing it down. By the end of week 1, you'll have a map, your main triggers, how your body signals activation, your most common relief behavior. With that map, week 2 begins. Week 2, first contact, build tolerance. This week is about tolerance, not elimination, not mastery, tolerance. You'll begin to sit with small doses of uncertainty without immediately reaching for relief. Practice 1, the 10-minute delay. When you feel the urge to perform your relief behavior, don't stop it, delay it. 10 minutes. You want to check email? Wait 10 minutes. Revise the document one more time? Wait 10 minutes. Text someone, do you think this will work? Wait 10 minutes. During those 10 minutes, you will feel discomfort. That's expected. It doesn't mean something is wrong. It means the system is being challenged. The question isn't, how do I make this discomfort disappear? The question is, can I tolerate this for 10 minutes? The answer is almost always yes. And every time you wait, you prove something to your nervous system. Uncertainty didn't kill me. Not knowing was survivable. Repeated proof rewrites the program. Practice 2. Name it out loud. When the watcher activates, say it. Out loud if you can. In writing if you can't. This is the watcher. It's activated because there's uncertainty. It sounds simple. It changes everything. Naming creates distance. You are not the anxiety. You are the one noticing it. That separation is powerful. Practice 3. 1. Intentional uncertainty per day. Every day, choose one small thing and deliberately leave it unresolved. Don't answer a non-urgent email. Don't double-check if the plan is confirmed. Don't ask for feedback before sending. One small, intentional open loop, and live with it for 24 hours. This isn't punishment. It's demonstration. You're showing yourself that something can remain open and you still function. Uncertainty is not an emergency. Week 3. Going deeper. Find the belief now. We go underneath the behavior. You've seen the watcher. You've practiced tolerance. This week is about the core belief. Practice 1. The origin question. Once this week, sit down with a notebook and answer this. What did I learn as a child about what happens when you relax? Don't force a dramatic memory. It might be small, vague, a tone in a house, a look on someone's face. Write whatever comes. This isn't therapy. It's curiosity. The watcher was born for a reason. Understanding the reason is not the same as obeying it. Practice 2. Dialogue with the watcher. It will feel strange. Do it anyway. Write a conversation. You ask, what are you trying to protect when you make me check email at 11 p.m? Then answer as the watcher, I'm trying to make sure you're not caught off guard tomorrow. You respond, and if I am caught off guard, what happens? Keep going. When you do this, the watcher stops being a vague force and becomes a voice with an intention. Intentions can be negotiated. Practice 3. 20-minute delay. This week, the delay becomes 20 minutes. Same process. Double the tolerance. It won't be easy, but it will be easier than week 2. There's a difference. Week 4. Integration. Build the new pattern. This week isn't about learning something new. It's about consolidating and beginning to sketch a new way of living. Practice 1. Intentional presence. Once a day, choose one activity and do it fully present. A meal, no phone, no TV, no podcast, a 10-minute walk, a conversation with someone you care about. When your mind drifts, gently bring it back. No self-criticism, just return as many times as needed. This builds the muscle of presence, and presence is the opposite of the watcher. The watcher lives in the future. Presence anchors you in now. Practice 2. A letter to the watcher. On the last day of week 4, write a short letter, not to your anxious self, to the watcher. Thank it. Seriously, it existed for a reason. It protected you from something that once felt real. Acknowledge that, and then tell it you've grown, that you have resources now you didn't have before, that you'll take responsibility for vigilance, but in a different way, one that includes rest. It might feel sentimental. It works. The emotional system responds to symbolic language in ways logic never can. Practice 3. Closing ritual. Create a simple end-of-day ritual. 5 minutes. Write down 3 things you allowed to remain unresolved today. Small is fine. I left the email for tomorrow. I went to bed without checking the confirmation. I sat still for 10 minutes without fixing anything. 3 things. Every day. This does 2 things. It records real progress, which an anxious brain tends to ignore. And it teaches your system that victory isn't only what you solved, it's also what you tolerated without solving. 3 lines on paper. That's how it starts. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up and the mental list begins, before you grab your phone, before you open your email, before you start planning the day, take a piece of paper and a pen, a notebook, a loose sheet, the back of an envelope, and write 3 lines. Line 1. What is uncertain right now? Not a list. one thing. The one that feels heaviest, the one the watcher is most focused on today. Write it in simple words. I don't know if the project will be approved. I don't know how the conversation with my dad will go. I don't know if I'm making the right decision. Just that. Line 2. What can I actually do about this today? Only what's possible today, with what you have, in real time. If the answer is nothing, write nothing. That matters. Because the watcher doesn't separate what's actionable now from what isn't. Everything feels urgent. Writing, "There's nothing I can do about this today," is a moment of clarity your nervous system needs. Line 3. One concrete thing you will do today that has nothing to do with that uncertainty. Anything. Call a friend. Read 10 pages of a book. Cook something you enjoy. Take a walk without your phone. An anchor in the present. 3 lines. 2 minutes. Every day. It doesn't sound like much. It isn't. But it's consistent. And when you're retraining a nervous system, consistency beats intensity. 1 hour of therapy once a week is powerful. 2 minutes of daily practice is transformative, because the system learns through repetition. And repetition only happens when the entry cost is low enough that you can keep showing up. You made it all the way here. That's not a small thing, because while you were listening, the watcher probably tried to pull you away a few times. To solve something, to check something, to plan something else, and you stayed. That's already practice. That's already training. The pattern that turns uncertainty into anxiety didn't appear out of nowhere. It was learned. It made sense at the time. You're not broken. You're using a system that was useful once, and now costs more than it gives. 30 days won't erase decades of habit. But 30 steady days create enough proof for your nervous system to begin trusting something new, that you cannot know and still be okay. That uncertainty isn't a threat. It's the normal texture of being alive, that the watcher can rest. The shadow has a name, and when it has a name, it starts to lose power. If something in this video felt real to you, leave a comment with one word, just one. The word that describes what you're feeling right now. It doesn't need to be thoughtful. It doesn't need to be polished, just one word. It tells me you're here, and it helps me keep making work that reaches the people it's meant to reach. If you want to keep going, the next videos will explore the other shadow archetypes. The pleaser, the perfectionist, the invisible one, where they come from, how they operate, and how to train differently. The path continues. I'll see you there.